Hello, welcome. Here's another video from yours truly, Tom at MagnaCAD. Today we're going to show you in this video basically how you can take features from one part. I should actually say we're going to actually show you how you can share linked features across multiple parts. Okay, so this is very helpful if you have multiple parts and there's a few features on there that are common to each part. You don't want to have to change each part to make that one change. So we're going to show you how you can set this up to make life a whole lot easier for you. Okay, so I'm just going to dive in. We're going to keep it pretty informal. I'm not going to worry too much about dimensions. I just want to show you the overall abstract concept of how this process works. So what I'm going to do is just make two parts here. They're not linked. They're just two separate parts, right? Let's say part 4 and part 5. We'll change the color so you can see that they truly are two different parts, okay? Now, more or less what I'm going to try and do is make like a buckle with a pin in it that I can tie a strap to, all right? So in this case, I want to create a pocket, a rectangular pocket in both parts. That would be a feature that would affect both parts, but one feature shared. Okay, so how you do this in AutoCAD, other than using structure mode, I know there's ways to do this. Structure mode basically mimics, other CAD software where you have bodies and linked bodies and stuff of that nature. We're going to stick to innovative mode, not structured mode. Okay, I personally like innovative mode. It's got a lot more freedom. Excuse me. So how we basically do that is you want to create a sketch first of a 2D shape, and I'm just going to put a drawing surface right there. Okay, and we can move the center of it if you want. This is just more or less housekeeping. It's not really necessary. And now I'm going to draw a center rectangle. Just let's say that's about the pocket size. Again, just showing the abstract, not worrying too much about dimensions here, and finish that sketch. So now we have a sketch there. I know it's going to be linked, so I'm going to just give it a name. Let's say pocket. I'll just move it up so you can see that where we're on. Or actually, we'll just leave it there. We'll leave it on the face. All right, so now how you do this is basically you can either right click on the pocket, the 2D shape here in the scene browser, or you can right click on it right on the scene. You get the same menu pops up. And what we'll do is going to create an extrude. All right, and what's nice here, it shows you which way it's extruding. We want to flip it the other way, and we basically want to either add, we're just concerned about these two, add and remove material. In this case, I want to remove material, and you want to select the part you want to remove it from. The important part to note here is under the profile behavior, right? This is your profile. Make sure link to existing profiles is set. And it's always good to kind of check that off so it's always set without you having to go back and check it. And once you do that, we've created a extrude on part 4. There's none on part 5. Okay, so we do the same process, create, extrude, and this time we're going to remove material from this part. Whoops, and I didn't flip it, so we're going to flip it here either way. So now these two shapes, all right, they're on Intellishapes features, are on two separate parts, but they're both driven by this one sketch. Okay, so if I come in here and change the sketch, you see both parts are changing. Okay, and again, you can go in there and assign dimensions if you want. It's up to you. I'm just showing the abstract here. So we don't really need that sketch anymore. So you can't delete it because it's linked, so you want to just suppress it. All right, and you'll know by default all sketches are not included in BOM. uh, bill of materials that it generates. So we have that, which is nice. And now it's just this one feature, just the profile that is controlled by that pocket 2D shape. So if I come into this part and say, well, I want this pocket to come down maybe to the middle of this part. We're going to use Smart Snap. You see the other one's not affected because the extrude is not driven by the geometry. Okay, so you can do this all day long, however you want to change. In my case, I want to go through all the parts, so I'll just pull them through. You know, I'm more of a handle guy. There's people out there that like more advanced features. So if you wanted to go through the part, you can just right click on it, and in the forward conditions just say through part. So now if you make this part any size, it'll automatically go through. Alright, just a little tip there. So now we have this pocket on both parts, driven by one 2D shape. So I want to create a pin that comes across here. So what I'm going to do is create another 2D shape right here, right in the center. Not worrying about this too much. Just going to create another sketch, basically, right? And I'm going to call this a pin. Just easier to navigate. Now what I want to do with this geometry is I want on this part 4, I want this pin to be added material, and on the blue part 5, I want it to remove material. Alright, so very simple, the same process. Right click on the sketch, create, extrude, and I'm going to say I want to add material to this part. Say OK. You can see it add. And remember, we have the linked behavior automatically on. Alright, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to right click on it this time, say create, extrude. This time I want to remove material from the blue part. And remember, the linked behavior we have set as the default. Say OK. We can drag that through. And that's it. Okay. So now if we change this geometry, you're changing both the pin and the hole at the same time on 2 separate parts. As you can see here, it's an add, and here it's an remove. Very simple. So we can suppress this. We don't need it. But the thing to note here is if you suppress these parts, right, and you want to edit, you can't get the handles to simply drag on. You'd have to go in and edit and come in here and change. It won't actually even let you do that. Sorry, it won't let you do that while it's in suppressed mode. But a little trick I come up with, if you unsuppress this temporarily, then edit, you can put a constraint dimension on it. Okay. When finish, now if you suppress it again, you have access to that dimension. So if you click that, you can basically double click on that dimension and change it. Little trick to bypass this whole suppression thing. Alright, so I'm going to do I won't do a save. So now we have this, but people will be asking, see, it looks a little jagged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this to 100. Okay, make this more look like a circle. So a lot of you are asking, oh, that's great, that pin, it's got 0 tolerance here, right? Alright, well, we'll show you how to add tolerance to this hole. We're going to just hide everything we don't select. I just want to work on this part here. What I'm going to do is create another extrude. I could have dragged the hole here either way. I'm just going to go this way. I'm going to remove material. And what we're going to do is use this geometry as a constraint. And how we do that, by hitting the S key, get out shortcut tool. We come here, we want to project that geometry as a constraint. You see, you can tell by the red arrow here. And we project that So now that geometry is being driven by this pin geometry, okay? But now we just take this geometry and we're going to offset it by whatever tolerance you want. I'll make it big so we can see it. Make sure it's an offset constraint so it's locked. You can see there here it's that lock. You could change that by double clicking on it. But at this point we have two geometries. We don't want to use this, the inner one, to create the hole. We're just using it to drive the outer hole. So what we do is we right click on it and just use it for construction only. You can see it goes to lighter blue. And then you can say finish. Right click finish. And then right click and say show everything, and now you can see the tolerance on there. Okay, so now what you notice on our blue part here is you have a block, that linked pocket, the linked pin, which is creating a hole, and this extrude is the tolerance hole. You'll notice that our link pin has got this red icon. That indicates it's a floating feature, meaning it's not a failed feature. It's being used. It's just floating there because you're basically taking a hole that's bigger and covering up a hole. So it's being used, but not in the model itself per se as a finished product. So we call these floating features. Again, it's not a failed feature. If it was failed, it would be a big red X through it. Okay? So you don't ever want to delete any of these red ones because they're being referenced by other geometry. Okay? Now, here's a preference. Some may like, some may not. If you want this order to always to be like this, you know, instruction part mode, it's automatically set. You gotta manually basically reorder everything if you want to change the shape of parts. In innovative mode, this gets reordered automatically because RNCAD's smart enough to know that, hey, if you're putting a hole on top of a hole, we got a hole in material, you got to reorder it so it makes sense. So only RNCAD does that, and that's the innovative part mode, which is beautiful because it eliminates a lot of headaches. But in this situation, when you got a lot of stuff driven off of other geometry, you may want to just lock the order of this. And how you basically do that without being in structured part mode is just to right click on the part and turn off this allow reordering option. In essence, you're basically in structured mode, you know, a lighter version of it, because what it does is it'll keep this feature structure intact in order. So no ordering will be happening, okay? And the beauty of that is, so now, you know, you can or can't, it's just a nice fail safe. You might want to do it on this part as well. So once you do that, we have our clearance, we have this. We can go to our pen and change this to, let's say, 0.375, and you'll see it'll maintain the tolerance. And again, if you click on that hole, you can even change the tolerance here by double clicking on it if you like. Whoops. Not sure why that happened. Let's see if this still works. Should still work. Yeah, not sure why that happened. So there you have it. You have two parts that share two features, right? And you got everything you need here. So I hope this provides some insight, and feel free to, you know, use this in any way you want to achieve your results. This is just a very simple example of it, and I hope you find it useful. Have a great day.